What's going on, everyone? It's LP, writer and creator of the comic books Nyobi and Savage Sin. And my phone is binging. You might hear that here and there. Look, I'm just here to be honest with you, right? I talked to a couple of people today that express interest on coming on the show. But there's a couple of things that I had to really sort of reinstate, reaffirm with them before bringing on anyone onto a live show that, quite honestly, I have no interest in running. I don't. I've told you guys before, I'll do a live show here and there when I'm bored or when I'm running a Kickstarter or I'm trying to hawk my wares, whatever the case may be. But when it comes to like doing the show the way that we used to do it weekly with guests, with topics, and broadcasting to six people and half of them are trolls just really isn't worth my time. And I had to be honest with the two people that wanted to come on. I won't say who they are, but one of them wanted to talk about his comic book distribution business, and the other one wanted to talk about his Kickstarter, which isn't going to fund. And I said to both of them, I said, well, if you come on the show, I said, here's a couple of things I want you to know. Boop, 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 boop. McDonald's. Is that we're gonna ask you the tough questions, right? Like we're not going to throw you softballs. If your Kickstarter's failing, we're gonna examine it. We're gonna wonder why. We're gonna look at your goals. We're gonna look at how much time you have left. We're gonna look at the pricing. And he didn't want to, I don't think he wanted to do that because, and I get why he didn't want to do that because he didn't want to put any sort of negative light on his Kickstarter, even though the writing is on the wall. It just is. I have seen enough of these to know. And he ain't the only one. Document it. Sam Quinton had to, redo Tibby because it didn't fund. I know a couple others who are, one, Max is doing refunds on a Kickstarter. I know another guy who is nearing the end of his Kickstarter and he isn't going to fund either. Right. So I wouldn't waste your time asking me to come on the show where we're going to look at the negative. I mean, we certainly would look at the positive, but we would also look at the negative because it's a learning experience, right? When you put your goal at 10,000 US dollars and you're a first time comic book creator or it's your first Kickstarter, you may have done comics before, but your first Kickstarter, no one else knows that you've done books before. No one else knows that you're reliable. It's going to be very hard to get people to back you. Your goal is too high and you're a first time creator. You got to think, guys, when you're starting out this business, you have to think in small baby steps. You're not going to come, it doesn't matter how great of an artist you are, unless if you're a top tier name, you're going to have a hard time on Kickstarter. It just is. The economy is just the way it is. Comic books are sort of like falling off of the popularity wagon. Things are expensive. Things take forever to get to you. When they do get to you, maybe the comic books aren't as good as a person had thought. And that's just the one side. The other side is when I talk to this guy about distribution, I'm like, look, we've seen all kinds of people prop up and say that they're going to do this and that for comics. And they're going to do this and that for independent comic book creators. And they were going to get books in the shops. And I said to the guy, I said, we're going to ask you all the hard questions, man. I'm going to look for the holes and I'm going to look for the chinks in the armor. You know what I mean? Because that's what we do, right? Like, we're not just here to hand someone a trophy sort of thing. Like, we're here to examine all aspects of the industry so that you, the comic book creator who does watch this show, can learn from it. Learn what did work with these campaigns or this distribution model and find out what didn't work. I mean, from the time I started this channel, I've always been forthcoming with everything. I've shown you diamond sales reports. I've shown you actual pays that I've gotten when I was with the Antarctic Press. I've shown you the ups and downs of the industry. I've gone and revealed things that I should never have revealed. That's what we do here. And we'll continue to do that, right? If you ask me to come on the show, it's not going to be a walk in the park. We like to analyze everything in minute detail. You know, I'm a student of the game. I've been doing Kickstarters now for 11 years. And yes, I've ran into projects that I've had that have failed to fund twice now. One I canceled and one I let just run its course. Look, it's a tough game out there, whether it's Kickstarter or distribution or whatever other comic book model you're trying to implement into your business. I have never seen a time where so many people wanted to be in comic books where there is so little demand for them. I'm just here because I'm sort of stuck. I'm kind of grandfathered in, you know? It's kind of all I know. But if I was someone now who wanted to make a comic book, I would go watch shows like mine and see that a lot of these Kickstarters just aren't making the grade. They're not. Okay. Some of them are like Common America's doing very well, but they're established. I mean, people who've been around for a few years and are established have a better chance of at least getting funded than trying to present something new right now in a market that is dominated by manga. It just is, man. And I know I'm just sort of ranting and shooting from the hip here, but I was going to do a live show today. And then I had one fella cancel out on me because he was scared that we would be too negative and too harsh on his comic. And I get that. I wouldn't want to I'm trying to promote something. I don't want people to focus on anything negative. I want it to seem like it's the greatest thing on earth. But the problem is that these things usually aren't. And with the other guy, I canceled on him. I said, "Look," I said, "the one guest canceled out." I said, "We could bring you on," but I said, "I gotta be honest with you. No one's really watching these shows. And it's not just no one's really watching my shows. No one's watching these shows." I told the guy, the comic book guy, because he said, "Well, maybe we'll hold off for a week because I got these other opportunities to be on these podcasts. I have like 1,000 to 2,000 people." And I said, full stop right there. I said, "Go do that. Don't even fucking talk to me." I said, "If you have an opportunity to be on a podcast that has 1,000 to 2,000 active listeners at any given time, that is your priority, right?" I broadcast to 6 people, and 5 of them probably hate my guts. 4 of them are there to clip me. 3 of them are there to troll me. One of them might actually be a fan. Okay, that's it. You know, we I have full self awareness that this show is nothing. It's just a group of friends that hang out and talk live on air. Maybe someone swings by and hears a little bit of it, and that's it. Right? I hate doing live shows. I rather just come on for 5, 10 minutes, talk about a topic, whether it's Grand Theft Auto 6, which I'm going to cover later, or Marvel Rivals, my love of gaming. Maybe something's going on important in the comic book world, and I want to talk about that for 5 or 10 minutes, and then go on with my merry way and allow those videos to earn ad revenue. Because I'm certainly not getting anything in super chats, and I certainly don't want to do this for free. You know what I mean? If I'm going to do YouTube, I'm going to do it where I'm not wasting 4 hours of my night and 4 hours of someone else's night, to broadcast to 6 people where 4 of them are just out to fuck around. Like, I just don't care, right? I can do these short videos and go on my day and just like if I want to hang out with my friends online, we can do that off air, in our green rooms. We can do that. We can load up StreamYards or we could jump into Discord or whatever it is and just shoot the shit. It'd be the same thing as if we were live, only we don't have 6 people watching, you know. I'm my interest here is not to interview any more comic book creators or listen to any more distribution models which I think aren't going to work. you know, I am only concerned about how do I keep Nyobi afloat and Savage Sin afloat and myself afloat. Like that's it. That's all I'm interested in doing right now. I'm in no position, to be quite honest with you, to be lending helping hands to anyone unless it was just some quick, hey, how do I do this on Kickstarter? Or do you got any like basic advice? Outside of that, I got no ambition or will to really lend an extending hand. There's plenty of other people out there that can do that for you. If that's what you're looking for. Um, I'm not going to be accepting any sort of more requests for people that want to come on the show because I'm just going to be completely honest with them. We don't have an audience, It's like talking with friends, and the viewers we do got sometimes are trolls. You know what I mean? That I have to go block, you know? I mean, I said, you can come on the show and talk to us for a couple hours and it'll be fun and we'll have a great conversation. But the truth is, no one's going to hear it. No one that matters is going to hear it anyway, right? It's not like I have 1,000 to 2,000 active listeners and they are comic book buyers. That's not who watches this show. There's three types of people who watch this show. Comic book creators, comic book trolls, and people who just sort of stumble into this. You know what I mean? And there might be, the odd fan out there, odd comic book reader that will watch. But generally speaking, those three main ones that I listed, they're our top three viewer. When it comes to live programming, when it comes to pre-recorded programming, it's all over the board because that's where we actually get more views, more subscribers, more well, it is more content because I can bang it out faster. But I was going to say, it's more condensed. It's bite-sized news. You know what I mean? And it doesn't make me rich. I'm lucky if I get my $100 payout out of YouTube each month. Sometimes I don't. Sometimes it takes a couple months and then I get a payout. But it's something that I'm slowly building, right? This channel is morphing into something different. Eventually the live shows, if and when we do them, are going to be for members only. When I finally clear out the channel of all the copyright infringement that YouTube doesn't like, because I have to go through like 500 live videos, save the ones I want, get rid of the rest, clean up the channel so there is nothing on my channel that has any copyright music at all, because that's YouTube's biggest problem with me, is that I keep abusing their copyright system in regards to music. Because, I do my intros and I don't care what it is that I play, because I know that we're not making any ad revenue off the live shows anyway, right? Any money that comes from the live show is either directly from super chats or indirectly by people buying books from eBay or wherever when they're watching the live show. And they go, "Oh, that sounds kind of cool. Maybe I want that." But yeah, so don't, and I'm not saying I'm never gonna go live on this channel. I might go live and just play some fucking Marvel Rivals and bore the shit out of people. I'm completely fine with that. In fact, I will be working on my gaming channel later this summer. I'm still trying to build Nyobi up to about 2,000 subs. We're at 1340 as we speak right now. And once we get about 2,000, then I'm going to switch gears and start working on my gaming channel and try and get that to 500 subs so we can get that one monetized. And then if I think there's enough interest, I will swing over and do the wrestling channel and get that one to 500 subs and get that one monetized. So by the end of summer, or at least into the fall, I want to be running 3 channels. And the goal is, it's not that hard to get 500 subs if you're pumping out regular content, is to get all 3 channels monetized, working in succession, each one bringing in a few dollars a day. Just for a few dollars a day, you can help feed a starving Canadian beyond the wall like me. That's the plan, right? Short videos, talk about a topic, jump in, jump out. No need for fucking 50-year-old men talking about comics and their fucking member babies and their drama and their bullshit and their fucking cutthroat tactics. I got no interest in it. I am going to do what I'm going to do. I'm going to cover comic book news, pop culture news, bite-sized videos. And when I do go live, it's going to be mainly to promote myself. So, I mean, that's it. That's all, guys. If you do want to check out my comics that I do make, please stay tuned from a word from our sponsor. All right, and just who is today's sponsor? Well, it was me, Austin. It's been me all along. And of course, what we're promoting here is the Nyobicomics eBay page. Link is in the description of the video, pinned at the top as always. Come on by and check out what we have to offer. It's Nyobi all the way from the original black and white stuff all the way up to Outbreak 3 with Outbreak 4 right around the corner. Thank you for supporting that comic on Kickstarter, by the way. And if you didn't know, I also have a second comic called Savage Sin, and we got Savage Sin number 1 and number 2 out with all kinds of great variants. You can see right there on the screen, we got one from Greg Bo Watson and RB White. We got everything that you need to catch up on the Nyobi Comics universe. Savage Sin, Nyobi, eBay. Come by right now.